guys. Good evening to one and all. Here by St. Catherine's Anglican Church, once again, which is in the parish of St. Philip, which is situated on a little hill to the eastern side of the island. St. Catherine's, St. Catherine's Anglican Church was consecrated in November 1922. St. Catherine's is one of the younger Anglican churches. It is young, but not so young. When I say young, it is younger than most of these Anglican churches in Barbados that were built in the 16, 17, and 1800s. It's young to compare to those churches. But it is not so young because most of us living now were not born when this church was consecrated. The grave of the burial place of John Marshall and family of East Point, St. Philip. The parish of St. Philip, which is to the southeastern side of the island, but this part of St. Philip is fully east. This part of St. Philip is fully east, and it is the largest parish on the island. St. Philip is the largest parish, and it is the parish that is supposed to be considered to be a flat parish, the flattest parish. St. Philip is supposed to be the flattest parish in Barbados. St. Philip is supposed to have less hills or none at all, but this part of St. Philip is hilly. It is not hilly as how St. Andrew and St. Joseph are, but this part carries a bit of hills in it. You can see the churchyard down below here, St. Catherine's churchyard. This is the cemetery here, but they still have some up here in the church as well. It says here, Edwin A. Grisette, the grave of the Grisette and Wiltshire family. This part of St. Philip is home to the main families: Wedderburns, Wiltshires, Masons, Cossies, Seeleys, and Masons. They are from this part of St. Philip. So this is the vestry over here. So this St. Catherine's and St. Mark's are the two sister churches. They go together. St. Mark's is the main church, which is over here at College Savannah in St. John. And St. Catherine's is supposed to be the chapel of East to St. Mark's. They share the same priest. St. Catherine's had St. Catherine's Church had separated from St. Mark's for a while between 2005 and 2015. In 2015, they merged back together. It says this vestry was dedicated on the 29th of November 1975 by Drexel, who was the bishop at the time, Drexel Gomez. You can see the school over here, St. Catherine's Primary School. I'm in the countryside at the moment. This is a rural parish, a rural area. St. Philip is also considered to be less rustic, but as you can see, this part of St. Philip is more rustic than anywhere else. You can see the dairies over here, the Wiltshire dairies over here, which is at Wiltshire Plantation in St. Philip. So Bearfield is across here, Bearfield and Skeets Bay, and to the top of St. Philip. You can also leave the back of Three Houses Park and College Savannah, where St. Mark's Church is. St. Mark's Church is in walking distance from here, a stone throw away. St. Mark's is in St. John, but that part of St. John borders St. Philip. To me, St. Mark's is more in St. Philip than St. John. You smell the manure from the livestock, like the goats that have a dairy out here. You see how peaceful and quiet out here is. St. Catherine's Church, the Wedderburn grave, Jesse, Louisa, Jeffrey, Edwina Wedderburn, and Catherine Louisa Hunt. The Cheeseman grave, Alan Cheeseman. So we are close to Culpeper Island, which is supposed to be a little island off the shores of Barbados. Culpeper Island is in St. Philip. I've never been there, but I've seen pictures of it. This is the belfry here. This bell was placed here. This is the bell here. This bell was placed here because in 2012 or so, late December 2012, they had a lightning strike, and the belfry, which is up top here, was cracked. So they had to take it down, and then they rededicated the church and then put back the bell here. It says this bell tower was dedicated on the 16th of June 2013 by the Most Reverend Dr. John Holder, Bishop of Barbados and Archbishop of the Province of the West Indies, during the incumbency of the Reverend William Boyce, who was the priest in charge. Bishop John Holder, the retired bishop now, he was also a priest in charge here for a little while. Not for long, but a little while. Church cemetery. St. Catherine's Primary School over here. So this is another church in the Anglican Diocese of Barbados. As I said before, it is relatively young. It is not as old as how most of the Anglican churches are. This church celebrated their 100th anniversary in 2022. It says here, "Peace be unto you." This prayer and meditation area was built in memory of John B. Marshall, who was born in January 1880 and died in May 1949. And Mayor Marshall, born November 1902 and died in April 1986, by their son John Marshall and their grandsons on the 28th of March 1995. So school over here again, St. Catherine's Primary School. I take red class to buy other receiving education here at St. Catherine's or over here at St. Mark's, which is just across from St. Catherine's in a place called Blaze 2. So this is another historic church. Another church in the history of Barbados. This porch was erected to the glory of God and in memory of William and Martha Cheeseman by their son Alan Cheeseman, which was erected in 1988 on the 19th of August, 1988. So here's the church cemetery. Church. It says the northern porch was dedicated on Sunday, June 16th, 2013, by the Most Honorable Dr. John Walter Dunlop Holder, Bishop of Barbados and Archbishop of the West Indies, during the incumbency of the Reverend William Boyce, who was the priest in charge. So I finally made it to St. Catherine's. I always had this to visit. I always wanted to visit here for the longest while. Some more graves over here. So this is the memoriam here. And what call the names? You can see names here. Masons and blades. Our president, who was a farmer, Governor General James Sandra Mason, is also from this part of St. Philip. lot of Gittins are from this part of St. Philip as well. In the memorial. As you can see, St. Catherine's Church is situated on a little slope. I leave this place now. It says St. Catherine's Anglican and Episcopal Church, consecrated on the 26th of November 1922. As you can see, the church is situated on a little slope. St. Catherine's Anglican and Episcopal Church. Most of the good burial places for St. Catherine's is down here. The burial sites. Looking back at the church on top of the hill again. You see the St. Catherine Primary School out here. This is the church cemetery. All the Wedderburns. Wedderburn is a well-known popular family from this area here. Wedderburn. The other day, the priest, Reverend Stephanie Ann Wedderburn, she was a member of this church before she joined the priesthood. Stephanie Ann Wedderburn was also a member of St. Catherine's Church. Then she joined the priesthood. Then she was the priest and assistant priest at St. Michael's Cathedral, which is in Bridgetown. The school here, St. Catherine's Primary School. So I will now leave this place. And the school over here, St. Catherine's Primary School here. And the church here, and the pathway to the cemetery. Thank you guys for watching now. Do have a blessed evening.